So you've decided to play an archer. Maybe you like feeling safe. Maybe you want a clean, consistent playstyle. Maybe you just want to roleplay as Legolas. No matter why you begin, this job will humble you quickly. It looks simple, but pretty much everything you do to function properly demands more calculation than most people realize. And with classic worlds shaking things up, the Bowman story is changing in ways that are worth talking about. This is the journey of the Bowman. Before you ever pick up a bow, you start like everyone else. A fresh beginner on Maple Island with nothing but a basic weapon and 25 ability points. Among the 4 cardinal stats of Strength, Dex, Int, and Luck, you'll be focusing on the first 2. Early on, your build might even resemble a warrior's, since both classes rely on Strength and Dex, just in different proportions. And as we all know, Strength is king on Maple Island. Those first few levels feel great because you're still leaning on it. But eventually you'll need to shift towards your true main stat, Dex. That's when the second half of Maple Island slows down a little bit, since Dex barely boosts your damage with these beginner weapons. But don't worry, it'll pay off soon. If we had to rank the 4 classes by their Maple Island experience, it'd probably look like this. Warriors to be are the undisputed rulers. Pumping strength lets them one-shot most enemies here. Second would be you, the archer. You've got enough strength to feel decent, but you'll never match the warrior's early power. Thieves don't have much going for them here either, since only their secondary stat of Dex helps them at all, but like we just said, not very much. And then there's the magician. Their main stats do absolutely nothing here, so they have the roughest start by far. Out of pity, the devs even let them graduate 2 levels early, but they're still the slowest to clear Maple Island. Eventually, you hit level 10. That means you're finally ready to get employed. So you head to South Perry to catch your first boat ride to Victoria Island. Here in Lith Harbor, Phil will hook you up with a one-time discounted taxi ride to your new home. Welcome to the unofficial capital of the Maple world, Henesys. Every Mapler ends up here soon after arriving on Victoria Island. So it's fitting that its name comes from the Korean transliteration of Genesis. If there's one word I'd use to describe this town, it'd be idyllic. It's always a perfect day here. Sunny, with soft, fluffy clouds drifting gently in the background. The grass is bright and neatly kept, just slightly overgrown across the cobblestone streets. There are flowers with butterflies fluttering around them all over the place. And nowhere else is the maple aesthetic so clearly laid out. Mushroom-shaped houses, a cozy, farm-like charm, and a generally cheery atmosphere. The music is as carefree as it gets, with a relaxing bossa nova feel and a cute, catchy melody. As relaxing as Henesys feels, there's still work for you to do. So you head to the end of Henesys Park, where you find this mushroomy treehouse. This is the Bowman Instructional School. You'll find a variety of weapons stowed in the back, and targets that seem to be used frequently. Upstairs, Athena Pierce sits at her desk, with her bow in hand. Once she confirms you meet the requirement of having at least 25 Dex, Athena blesses you with some of her abilities. You are now officially an archer. And now it's time to spend your first skill point. Let's take a look. This is your skill book, and if we reorganize it a little bit, you can see it's really straightforward. At level 10, you only have 3 skills you can actually put points into: Blessing of Amazon, Critical Shot, and Arrow Blow. Blessing of Amazon is a passive that just gives you accuracy, which is mostly a formality because Dex, which is your main stat, already gives you more than enough. Archers basically never miss. Critical Shot gives you a chance to deal critical hits. This one is actually really good, but for your first SP, it's almost always best to put at least 1 point into your first attacking skill, Arrow Blow. So now you can at least put your MP to use. Arrow Blow is basically a single powered up shot, which has this magical looking splash animation, and a nice laser sound effect. Next, you grab your first bow, but to be able to use it at all, you'll need to stock up on plenty of arrows. By this point, you probably would have collected a few, since they drop from just about any mob in the game. But you'll still need a lot more than that, since every shot uses one arrow. Even at 1 meso per arrow, they can add up quickly. I was lucky enough to have had the chance to play the Classic World closed online test, and having played an archer there, I quickly learned that affording arrows isn't something to be taken for granted. To be fair, the meso economy was a bit busted during the test, and the devs are aware of that, so this may be improved in the future. But it's probably best to make sure you keep a healthy budget reserved just for ammunition. Although, I guess you can always beg your fellow Maplers. Chances are, they're collecting plenty of these from mobs too, and they'll probably drop them for you since they sell for nothing. To begin your training, you head to the spot every Mapler knows well, Henesys Hunting Ground 1. This legendary map is renowned for its size and its iconic vertical layout, with each platform acting like its own level range. It might be the widest range training map in the entire early game. Here, everyone is welcome. On the ground floor, you'll find the familiar snails and shrooms from Maple Island. Great for the beginners who decided to come to Vic early. One platform up, slimes join the mix. Slow, weak, and perfect for a fresh level 10. Above that are orange mushrooms. They're the strongest mobs you'd have seen back on Maple Island. And at the very top, the strongest players here take on green mushrooms, which hit surprisingly hard. The best part is that everything here is within reach for the next 10 levels. And because the map is so popular, the spawn rate is bound to be good. Henesys Hunting Ground works for anyone, but it feels like it was designed with archers especially in mind. Between each platform are these sniping spots, and even the hay bales act as terrain to help you avoid getting hit. As an archer, this map teaches you very quickly what feels good, and what doesn't. While all ranged classes can attack from a distance, archers have this unique quirk, the bow whack. If a monster gets too close, you don't shoot. You swing your bow, hoping to knock the enemy back. Bows actually have a built-in knockback chance stat for this exact purpose. But at this level, that chance is pretty low, which makes training up close feel pretty frustrating. That's why these sniping spots matter so much. They let you train safely and save precious potions. Some players think that the bow whack is outdated, like an unfun relic from an older era of game design. And I get it. Not getting to shoot an arrow because something walked up to you or even spawned on top of you isn't exactly fun, but I would argue that working around this limitation is part of what makes the Bowman feel unique. The other ranged classes don't deal with this. Magicians can cast at any distance. And assassins technically do have a claw punch, but they can stay fully mobile while attacking, which is why you usually see them jumping around non-stop. Archers don't get that luxury. You're locked in place, with no fallback except good positioning and spacing. It forces you to think differently, to pick maps that really suit you, to find the right angles, and to value safety. And when you discover a new spot where you can sit comfortably, shoot freely, and save potions, it feels really satisfying. During the closed online test, I was happy to see that bow whack was still in the game. But hey, that's just my opinion. If you hate it and want to see it removed in Classic World, drop a comment and tell me why. You can easily stay here for the next 10 levels, but once you hit level 15, you may want to head back to town for your first weapon upgrade. When you walk into the Henesys weapon store and look at your first upgrade, you'll see why those strength points you added on Maple Island weren't wasted. Every bow in the game requires a certain amount of strength to wield, and that's almost the only thing strength is good for. Dex is the real engine of the Bowman. It gives you higher damage, higher accuracy, and even a little avoidability. Strength does increase your damage, but just barely. A single point of Dex gives you more damage than 3 points of strength, so strength exists mainly as a key to unlock better bows. Now that you've got your new bow, let's take a look back at your skills and see what you've been working on. Archers have a good amount of flexibility in how they decide to level their skills. Warriors and magicians are pushed into specific passives early on, but for you, nothing is strictly required up front. After that first point and arrow blow, you can take a few different paths depending on your situation. If you're rich and potions aren't a concern, you can start powering up Double Shot, which is the archer's strongest attacking skill. It's exactly what it sounds like. You shoot 2 arrows instead of 1. If you want to maximize your sniping potential as early as possible, you can put a few requisite points into Blessing of Amazon, and then start working on Eye of the Amazon, which increases your maximum shooting range. My personal favorite is Rushing Critical Shot. It unlocks your ability to land those critical hits, and also gives you that iconic pink damage text. It boosts your damage without costing you a single extra potion. Whichever route you take, almost every archer ends up with the same core build by level 30. Max Critical Shot, Max Double Shot, Max Eye of the Amazon, and the remaining points in Focus, a castable buff that increases your accuracy and avoidability. Now, let's compare this traditional skill book to the new version we got to play with during the Classic World online test. While everything is still subject to change, I have to say I'm pretty pleased with the direction so far. First, Blessing of the Amazon, which only acted as a barrier to unlocking more useful skills, is now gone. You can go straight for Eye of the Amazon, which is the new gate to unlocking Focus. Classic World is also changing how critical hits work, letting every class have a chance to crit. It's a fun system-wide update, but for archers it doesn't change much. Critical Shot is still something you want, even if the numbers are a bit different. Double Shot got a nice glow up.
Nice.
It's now a pseudo AoE skill. It still hits a single target twice, but if a second monster is close enough, the arrows split and hit 1 each. This felt fantastic in practice, and it's easily my favorite change. Back in the day, leveling Arrow Blow instead of Double Shot was a rookie mistake. But now, Arrow Blow and Double Shot are considered pretty much equal. And because it fires 1 stronger arrow, it's actually better for knocking back tougher enemies. During the Classic World test, we had free SP resets, so I tried both Arrow Blow and Double Shot, and they both felt great, just different. If I had my way, we'd always be able to change our skill builds. MapleStory has always been really cookie cutter. Almost every character of any given class ends up with the same build. It's kind of boring. So being able to swap skills for different situations would be a huge quality of life improvement, and just more fun. If I had to pick one, I'd still lean towards Double Shot, but that's only because of this brand new skill, Amazon's Judgment. It's a passive that gives your critical hits a chance to slow enemies. Even at level 1, more than half your crits can apply the debuff. Combined with Double Shot's 2 hits, you apply it pretty consistently, and the result is some surprisingly satisfying early game crowd control. So you've gotten your first weapon upgrade. That new composite bow will definitely come in handy. Wait, hold on. Is that a crossbow? Alright, so bows and crossbows might serve the same purpose, but they feel completely different. They both shoot arrows, but the gap between them is about as big as the difference between a spearman and a fighter. Bows fire faster and generally feel quite snappy. Crossbows fire slower and heavier, but they hit harder. Even the sound effects play into it. Compare the light, airy whish of a bow versus the chunky whoosh of a crossbow shot. Oh, and if you're feeling a bit shy, crossbows are great at hiding your face. During first job, you're free to see what feels right. Historically, bow users have always been the more popular choice, but according to this damage simulation from MeowDB, their performance isn't too different, with Hunter just slightly pulling ahead. With your bow of choice in hand, you head out to try some new training spots. On the other side of Henesys is another classic map, the rainforest east of Henesys. Unlike the hunting ground, which was a vertical stack, this map is completely flat, except for these little ditches. It feels great to stand on the sides of these ditches and shoot down into them. This kind of layout forces you to work on your spacing, and you might even find yourself memorizing where the monsters spawn. You'll probably want to, since here there's nowhere to snipe from. Almost every player comes here at some point because of its rich supply of pigs, which drop these surprisingly rare pig heads. They're used in several quests that reward items that people actually want, like these. But maybe you've already stocked up on pig heads, or you just want to fight something else that oinks. Just east of Parion is the land of wild boar. They're quite a bit stronger than regular pigs, but the EXP is even better, and the multi-tiered layout makes it a great party map. Like the previous spot, there aren't really any sniping positions, so good positioning is key. Some maps in MapleStory are just universally good. It's also worth noting that these guys drop the Lionheart. It's a weapon used by fighters and pages who want a fast-attacking two-handed sword. And even if you get one that isn't so good, it sells to the store for a whopping 140k mesos. That's some fat early game cash. You know what's messed up? This Nakamaki, which is also a level 35 two-handed weapon, only NPCs for 70k. Hashtag buff Nakamaki. If you want something a little quieter, one of my favorite maps around this level is over by Alinea. Inside this tree, Dungeon Southern Forest 3. Most tree dungeons are way too vertical for an archer to enjoy, but this one has wide, flatter platforms and several sniping spots where you can comfortably pick off the green mushrooms. These guys are also famous for dropping the Panlid, the best shield that any class can equip. All it does is give some weapon defense. But in Classic World, it might be even more valuable than it ever was before, since in the beta, shields were given a chance to trigger a block effect that negated all damage from a hit. Now all you have to do is get it to drop. I also can't talk about this level range without mentioning the most iconic map I played in Classic World. Just west of Kerning City is Caution Falling Down. It's not new or anything, but for whatever reason, this map went hard in the beta. The spawn rate felt like it was cranked up to the max. And so, while in the past it was never a bad map, if it stays the way it was here, this will almost certainly remain a staple trading spot come Classic World. I spent a huge chunk of time here, from levels as low as 14 to as high as 26. Once you're in your mid-20s, KPQ is traditionally the best option for EXP, fun, and mesos. But if you want something a little more autopilot, you can always head to the dungeon at the center of Victoria. Ant Tunnel 1 is another iconic spot that works for pretty much any class, but Bowman especially liked this bottom right area because of its great sniping spots. Even before you get big AoE skills, you can sit comfortably here and only have to move to pick up the drops. This is assuming that people elsewhere on the map are clearing mobs, but come on, it's Ant Tunnel. You probably won't be alone here. Now that you're nearing second job, it's a perfect time to look back at all the gear options you've had during first job. Back in the Henesys weapon store, you'll find pretty much everything you need. Downstairs, Carl handles the weapons, including some oddball melee options. Upstairs, Sam stocks all the armor pieces, and there's a lot to go through. Fresh archer dudes start out in this humble leather ensemble, fittingly called the Archer set. Girls get the slightly more colorful Avalon set. Both are topped with these winter hats, which feel a little out of season for Henesys, but hey, it's a nice look. At 15, the guys upgrade to this Robin Hood looking piece, the leather hoodwear. It's only a top upgrade though. For whatever reason, you're stuck wearing the same pants from level 10. Kind of a shame, cause some crisp white pants to match the silver top would have done nicely. The ladies are then able to wear the Able set, which has a metallic sheen to it, almost like a thin metal breastplate with leather accessories. Both sets get the Feather hat, which starts this pattern where every archer hat until level 30 comes in these 5 colors, which is a surprising amount of variety for one slot. At level 20, male characters can equip the brown hard leather set. I always found this set a bit strange. It kind of just looks like a big poop. It seems to show a bit more skin too, which is fair since the girls also forego some coverage for the more colorful Shiver Mail set. This tier is topped off with the Robin hat, which has a bit of a cowboy vibe. Level 25 finally brings some uniformity. Both genders get the Bennis chainmail set. And the hat at this stage has a real safari expedition look. Then level 30 introduces this very asymmetrical set, the Hunter-Huntress sets. I was never a huge fan of the sort of bra-like pouch thing on the front. What is this thing? Anyway, I love the hat here. The 2 feathers sticking up almost look like ears. Traditionally, bows were obtained every 5 levels, while crossbows came at different intervals. It never made much sense. Why buy a new bow at level 15 only to have a crossbow option available 3 levels later? It also just forced crossbow enjoyers to wait until level 12 to get started. In Classic World, this was streamlined, so all relevant weapons appear at the same level tiers. Once you hit level 30, your path splits. You'll choose between the fast, snappy rhythm of the hunter, or the heavier, deliberate power of the crossbowman. I can't wait to talk about each branch in their own dedicated deep dives. Archer's first job is simple on paper, but everything you've done here, like learning spacing, finding sniping spots, managing your range, and dealing with the dreaded bow whack, is all part of what shapes the bowman's identity. And after playing an Archer in the Classic World Online test, I can wholeheartedly say, I'm ready to do it all over again. This video took a lot of time and love to make, so your support is what helps keep this channel alive. A massive shout out to Speaker Dan, Kevin Tapp, Kruyo, Kairui, Hero Maple, Kuhn, Jeffo Wang, Porkyco, Azure Kaushin, Ordinary Joe, Nivlev, Swirled, Bunny of 11 Lives, Time Not Cake, and to every channel member listed here. Thank you for helping me make videos like this possible.